My name is Pablo Casalimas, and you are tuning in to the 161 Report, streaming to you live from Bamboo Strategic Media. The 161 Report is a platform created to help entrepreneurs succeed through educational content and industry experts. We're very excited to present to you today Bobby Newman, who's going to be talking about how to build a company that can sustain over the long term. Bobby's grandfather started the J.C. Newman Cigar Company in 1895. They're actually celebrating their 125th anniversary this month. And we're very excited to hear from Bobby how they've been able to withstand 2 world wars, 1.5 global pandemics, a Great Depression, and a Cuban embargo. So Bobby, it's a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for being with us today.
Greatly appreciate it. Wonderful to be here. And I'm talking to you from my favorite place in the whole world, our home in Tampa, Florida, which is sitting in our man cave.
That is awesome, Bobby. So Bobby, why don't you start by telling us briefly about the background of the J.C. Newman Cigar Company and when you came into the picture? Absolutely.
I'll share 5 or 6 summary high points. A grandfather started a business in May of 1895 in Cleveland, Ohio. He came over with the great wave of immigration in the 1880s as a 13-year-old from Hungary. His family settled in Cleveland, Ohio, which had the largest group of Hungarians in the United States at the time. And most people coming to the United States, if they had no skills, the males became tailors. The women stayed. It was terrible. Very chauvinistic. The women had to stay home, learn how to cook and sew. So Grandpa JC, his mother paid $3 a month for 3 years for him to become an apprentice cigar maker. And at the time, 80% of American males smoked cigars. You can imagine. This is way before cigarettes. So in 1893, Grandpa JC was working for one of 300 cigar companies in Cleveland. They had the panic of 1893, which was it's when the banks closed. Unless you're an econ major, you never heard of it. He lost his job, so to help feed his family, he started the company, J.C. Newman, actually in May of 1895. And we've never looked back since then. Interesting, when Grandpa JC started, there were 42,000 cigar manufacturers that had a federal license to sell cigars. And back then, because of Abraham Lincoln, in 1863, the Union was going bankrupt fighting the Confederates. So it was Abraham Lincoln's idea to put a tax on something that was combustible, something that would be used over and over again. So his idea to put a tax, it was 1 penny for every box of 50 cigars on a box of cigars. You had to go to the post office, and you had to go to the post office and buy these, they call them revenue stamps, tax stamps. A tax has never been taken off, but that's why we know that there are 42,000 cigar manufacturers when Grandpa JC started. So he survived the First World War, and then the Spanish flu in 1918 after World War I. He survived World War II. We survived. And at the age of 79, Grandpa JC said, look, if we're going to stay in this business, we have to move to the cigar capital of the world where the finest cigars are being made. And by the way, this was in 1954. There were 10 large factories making over 500 million. That's 500 million cigars every year. They're using Cuban tobacco, Cuban wrapper, the outside leaf, the binder, and the filler. Fast forward to, we moved everything, 500 people from Cleveland to Tampa, and enormous effort, obviously. I don't remember it, and I was very young. And 4 years later, Grandpa JC died in his office. He was 83 years old, and my father took over. And as I was telling you before the show, sometimes when you get older, you get more fiscal conservative. Grandpa JC did not want to expand the business. He had made and lost two fortunes in the Great Depression. So 4 months after Grandpa JC died, my father, Stanford, bought out the Cuesta family they were local in Tampa family. They had a national distribution, coast to coast. They were sold in every city in America. And Dad bought them. And this was 1958. 1962, the Cuban embargo came upon us. And that was just about broke the back. The Cuban embargo was John F. Kennedy implemented that, and it's still in effect today. So it's illegal to bring anything from Cuba, like tobacco. You can bring, I think, 100 cigars now, but tobacco, rum, sugar, and most of the industry left Tampa after that. These wonderful big old factories. They went up to merge with other companies up in Philadelphia, which was another big tobacco company.
And Bobby, you guys sourced all your tobacco from Cuba at the time, correct? So how did you guys pivot? How did that affect your company?
What saved our company was my father was the first American to bring tobacco in from Cameroon, Africa. So 1964, 2 years after the embargo. No one ever heard of Cameroon tobacco. No one ever heard of Cameroon, Africa. Of course, everyone knows where it is today. It saved our company. The wrapper had very similar characteristics to the Cuban. It didn't taste like it, but it was a very smooth and flavorful tobacco. And like I say, our father was the first American to bring it in, and people loved the taste of it. And fast forward to here we are, so 1960, 64, 65. In 1986, we had 17 family members working in our company. You talk about built to last. Most companies in America, very, very few companies last into the third generation. And if we had not bought out our family, the rest of our family, we had in-laws, outlaws, cousins, and so forth. We wouldn't be here. But my dad and my brother and I bought all of our relatives out in February 14th, 1986. I call it the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. I remember it like yesterday. And that was 34 years ago. And 3 weeks after our leveraged buyout, because we didn't have a pot to pee in, 3 weeks after that, Carlos Fuentes Sr., who had a factory in Tampa, was making 3 million cigars a year, asked us if we would make his cigars, because he had a hand cigar. He was making these cigars on these antique 1930 hand-operated machines that you made cigars on, and we were still making them. Carlos Fuente wanted to close that factory and move to his new factory in Dominican Republic, where he's making Arturo Fuente by 100% by hand. So we said, well, we will make this again. This was 1986. We said, all right, we'll make those machine-made cigars, those hand-operated machines, but we want to get back into the hand cigar-making business, and which we would like you to explore the opportunity to make handmade cigars for us. And that was 36 years ago. And 34 years ago. We've been business partners with the Fuente family ever since.
Right.
So today,
and you guys actually also work with the Fuente family on some charitable things as well in the Dominican Republic, correct?
Exactly. Yes. We sell the Arturo Fuente cigars to all the brick and mortar in the United States. And then my brother, back around 2001, he was with Carlos Fuente, and they were riding around near the Chateau de la Fuente where the famous FOX wrappers grown. They saw children, 6, 7 years old, 11 o'clock in the morning on a weekday. They should have been in school. They were playing in the river, and they had distended bellies because the water was all bad. So my brother Carlito said, we should, there was a government school half a mile away. Maybe we should see if we can build a wing to the school. And at the time, my brother and I are Rotarians. Rotary had a huge initiative for clean water. They still do, clean water in these developing countries. So we were able to get grants from the Rotary Club, and we were able to drill deep water wells in the community, and to get rid of these, because the water was so bad in the river. And the not only the children, but the parents, they would wash the clothes in the river. They would go to the restroom in the river, and they would get their drinking water from the river. And so we built a school. And if we had, to quote our business partner and my brother, other brother, Carlos Fuente Jr., if we had a business plan, we never would have done this, because we're cigar makers, we don't build schools and operate schools.
Right.
But we built a school right in the poorest part of the Dominican Republic, from kindergarten to 8th graders. Each child got a pair of shoes, a uniform, and 2 hot meals a day, and a world-class education, and for free. In each village, we didn't say who's going to go to the school. Each village, the village elders would choose who's going to be able to go to that private school. And we opened that up in 2004. 3 weeks after we opened it up, Carlos Fuente, who lives in the Dominican Republic, called my brother and said, "We have a problem." My brother Eric said, "How can we have a problem? We just opened this beautiful school." The problem was that the 8th graders said they had no place to go, and they'd have to go work in the work in the tobacco fields, or do some other type of menial labor. So we borrowed $1 million from the Bank of Tampa, and we built a high school, a secondary school, from 9th grade to 12th grade. And since then, we've been able, and this is public information, we've raised over $22 million. And Pablo, it's the only charity I ever heard of is that if an American gives $1, all 100 cents goes to the mission, to the Dominican Republic, because our family and the Fuente family pay the marketing, attorney, and accounting costs. And
wow.
It's worked out. And you remember the movie Field of Dreams? Build it, they will come. It was a big thing. And so we built it, and we started getting customers, and we introduced some foundations to it, and we were able to raise enough money, extra money, to build a health clinic. Because until we got there, no one had ever seen a toothbrush, if you can believe it. So we now have a full-time doctor. We've had it for 10 years down there, full-time physician, and we have 2 dentists down there. The mentality was, if you had a cavity, whether you were an adult or a child, just pull the tooth. There's no way to fill it, because there were no dentists in the community. Our goal from the beginning was to break the bonds of poverty, the chains of poverty down there. These people are so poor they don't have outhouses. And most Americans have traveled outside of the United States and have seen in these third world countries, these developing countries, how tough it is.
Right.
And
so, Bobby, we're going to go into our first commercial break here, and then we'll continue right after. So for those tuning in, you are watching the 161 Report, streaming to you live from Bamboo Strategic Media. And we've got a special message for you from the 161 Group.
When great minds come together, the impossible becomes the inevitable. Ideas become real ventures, and challenges become opportunities. And the only way to predict it is to build it. The question is, what will you build?
Welcome back to the 161 Report, streaming to you live from Bamboo Strategic Media. We're here with Bobby Newman from the Newman Cigar Company. Thank you for tuning in today. And that was a quick video we put together about the 161 Group, a little bit about what we do. And those cigars that we had on there were from the J.C. Newman Cigar Company. They're our favorite, our personal cigars of choice. And so Bobby here was telling us about the story of the J.C. Newman Cigar Company, how they got started, and some of the charitable efforts that they had in the Dominican Republic, how they built two schools, a clinic, and a sports facility. So Bobby, could you continue telling us about how you guys are making an impact in your charitable efforts?
This is most of the Central American and South America, the developing countries, college education is free for the state-run colleges. The reason more people, I can speak for the Dominican Republic, the reason they don't take advantage of it, they can't afford the books, the transportation. So we've been able to help these graduates go to college. The great irony in it follows the cycle of the Bible. If you believe in the Bible, that our medical director now, his name is Nelson, and he started as a 10-year-old, and he's now the medical director of our of the Cigar Family Medical Clinic, which is fabulous. And so everyone is now, they get vaccinations there, they get checkups. The fees are nominal, like $1 or $2 to see the doctor. We want to have them put a little skin in the game, so they would appreciate what when they see a doctor. They get free eyeglasses down there. All the kids are examined, and the from kindergarten to 12th grade, to the teachers, to the staff, the maintenance staff, we go down every year. We've done this for the last 10 years. Everyone is examined. We bring a team of ophthalmologists and optometrists. We bring 2,000 pairs of prescription glasses, sunglasses, eye drops, and there's a huge problem. No one has sunglasses down there in the rural area, and you can imagine. You see, at 40, these 35 or 40-year-old men and women are getting cataracts, and if they don't get them corrected, they'll be blind in 10, 15 years. So this is making a huge difference, obviously.
Right. That's a great initiative, Bobby. I'm really glad to hear that you guys are really contributing to a good cause down there. So let's flip the script a little bit, and let's get back into a little bit about the business and some of the lessons that you've learned. I mean, you guys have been in business for a long time, pretty much your whole life since you were born.
Right.
What are some of the challenges that you faced, and what are some of the lessons that you learned? And I know that the company faced several challenges before you were alive.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started when I was in high school in the late 60s, and after I got my MBA, I went into full-time in 1975. But people have short memories, including me. And during the 60s and 70s, there was terrible problems with inflation. And I remember 1980, that the prime rate was 21%. Today it's like 3.25%, and everything, cost of raw materials, tobacco, cigar labels, cigar bands, boxes were going. We couldn't raise our prices fast enough, and it's a real challenge. Our number one challenge. Our number one challenge that we had after the Cuban embargo, which was 1962, a lot of the people that many farmers fled Cuba, and they went to Spain, and they ended up migrating back to Dominican Republic and Honduras and Nicaragua, and they started making cigars by hand, less expensive than we can make them by these hand-operated machines. That was our biggest challenge for years and years. So, in other words, a dollar cigar, a cigar we would sell for $1, Cuesta Rey, you get the same cigar for even 95 cents that was handmade in the Dominican Republic or Nicaragua or Honduras. And a handmade cigar is always better than a machine-made cigar.
How were you guys able to compete with that?
Well, it was very difficult, and Uh, the the industry when we had a leveraged buyout, we had 14 consecutive quarters of sales going down, if you can imagine that. And we had 17 other family members. People wanted more dividends. We had givers and takers. So the way we were able to to survive is that we got together with the Fuente family in 1986. We got back into the hand cigar making business. We used to make cigars by hand in Cleveland, Ohio. We hadn't made cigars by hand since 1954. So we got back into that arena. And Carlos Fuente Sr. used to say, we caught the last bus to hand cigar making. And at the time, there were 100 million handmade cigars coming in from Honduras, Nicaragua, and Dominican Republic, and they had been flat. So not only did we get back in the hand cigar making business, we started selling all the Arturo Fuente cigars into the brick and mortar. The first year, we opened 501 accounts. Still have the records. It was fabulous for the Fuentes and fabulous for us, and we had a wonderful sales force. But we didn't have any hand cigar making cigars until we got together with the Fuentes. So it was good. Like I say, it was good for them, and it was good for us. Another thing, my father used to say that if you copy, because many people in different industries copy each other. They try to steal secrets. If someone's going to come out with a craft beer. There's over 10,000 craft beers now. People are trying to do to see what's successful. Father used to say that if you copy somebody else, you don't have any business being successful. I never forgot that. So we've always been innovators. One of the most successful endeavors we did after our leverage buyout, it was my father's idea to let's come out with a bundle cigars not sold in a box, but in clear plastic with a label on it. We'll call them La Unica. We had a lot of brands. We still have a lot of brands that we own. Let's come out with a cigar, and we'll call it Dominican Primeros, which means Dominican first. The entire industry, millions of cigars being sold in America then, all the bundle cigars were seconds. So they had they would have a hole in the wrapper or a green splotchy, or they're not filled correctly. So we came out with this La Unica Dominican Primeros. It was a Connecticut shade wrapper, very popular at the time, and the Maduro was a Connecticut broadleaf, and we started selling 1,000 a week, then 2,000 a week, and then we got up to 50,000 a week, and then we converted the Cuesta Rey brand and cigars we were making by these hand-operated machines, all long filler. We made it took my father a long time because Cuesta Rey was his baby. He bought it, and all that belonged to the family. So we started making Cuesta Rey in the Dominican Republic in the late 80s. Again, this was before the cigar boom. That was the greatest cigar boom in the history of our country. 1992, Marvin Shanken, who owned Wine Spectator magazine, and I'll tell you about Wine Spectator in a minute, he came out with Cigar Aficionado. And Wine Spectator was responsible, as far as what I've talked to people, they're responsible for bringing the California wines to where they are. When I was in college, remember, if you wanted to impress a date, you'd get her a bottle of wine from Matus, Lancers. It was relatively low price, but you would never use wine from California. Those were all the cheap Gallows screw tops. And so Marvin Shanken had an idea. Well, let's start rating wines and do blind tastings. And lo and behold, the California wines were tasting better than the French wines. And it raised the whole California, Napa Valley, Sonoma Valley industry. He did the same thing with cigars and started rating cigars, and they were rating as well or better than the Cuban cigars. And 1992, there were 100 million cigars being imported into America. By 1997, there were 500 million. 500 million cigars. That's where it peaked.
Wow.
And there's such a people were in Dominican, Honduras, Nicaragua. People, if they had a 10 by 10 feet by 10 feet, they're growing tobacco. There are shortages of tobacco, shortages of boxes, of labels, and people working 6-7 days a week trying to fill the demand. It was very similar. Pablo, very similar to the shortage of toilet paper and paper towels. People would go in these shops and things would be wiped out.
Right. So, Bobby, let me ask you, you talk about one of the reasons that you guys have been able to withstand so much and last for so long is because you guys are constantly innovating and coming up with some of the top premium cigars in the market. When you're creating these new cigars, what is that process like? How do you guys know that the customer is going to like that cigar when you're still creating it?
That's a great question, and we, because of being innovators, we have been able to survive. This is our 125th year. First of all, we think we're not arrogant people. You know me, Pablo. We're nice people, humble people, but we think we make the best cigars in the world. And when we come out of the cigar, when we first come out, we look for where are some niches that no one's making this type of cigar or this type of wrapper, this type of flavor. So we start talking about this, and we test different wrappers, different binders, different types of filler, long filler that goes in the cigar, until we've got something that's going to be smooth, lots of taste, and then we kind of work backwards and we'll come up and say, look, we're going to come up with a Don Pablo, cigar. So this is, we always have a name for it first, the brand name. I never speak for the Fuente family. They've got a stable of incredible brands, as all under the Arturo Fuente umbrella. And we have a stable as well of incredible brands as well from Dominican Republic. Arturo Fuente makes all of our Dominican cigars, Dominican Republic cigars, which are all the Diamond Crowns and Costa Rey and La Única. And we have our own factory. We opened in 2011 in Nicaragua, and we make Brick House, Prola Del Mar, Luis Martinez, House Handmaids, and the Quorum cigar. And so it's funny. No one, Pablo, it's funny. As many years as I've been in this business, no one ever asked me that specific question. What's the whole process of this? And it usually takes us 2 years to bring a cigar to market, and meaning it takes 2 years before we can sell the first cigar, because we have to once you get the cigar, you have to age it for at least 6 months, and we only use aged tobacco, which means we buy tobacco every year, all year round. You cannot buy aged tobacco. You have to buy it and age it yourself. So we've got tobaccos in Nicaragua. They're 5 years old. We try to age everything for at least 3 years in Nicaragua. They age the tobacco, wrapper, binder, filler. And to give you, and all the listeners, when you say aging, what does it do? Aging of tobacco, of cigar tobacco, in the right atmosphere, 70%, around 70% humidity, maybe 65 to 70% humidity, around 70 degrees. What it does, it allows the tobacco to, as it gets older, it mellows out. It's very similar to Scotch. A 50-year-old bottle of Scotch will taste a lot better than a 5-year-old bottle of Scotch. And it's an agricultural product. It's very, very unique to I think the process is very unique to our industry. And so we're working on we're going to launch a cigar in next year, 2021. We've been working on it for 2 years. And so we will make them, then they have to sit. They'll sit for a couple weeks, but you really can't tell them how it's going to taste because it has to mellow out. So you have to age the tobacco, then you have to age the cigars for at least 6 months. And what happens when you age the cigar, and we age them in cedar rooms, the tobaccos marry, the wrapper, the binder, the filler. It's got a lot of moisture, and it takes at least 6 months for the tobacco to come to where it's going to be. It will not. You can age it longer, but usually 6 months is what we found after many years. That's where it's peak point. If you keep it longer, when the consumer buys a cigar, like this Diamond Crown Julius Caesar this is Grandpa JC that we brought out in honor of his 135th birthday. But all the tobaccos in here are at least 5 years old, and the cigar was aged for 6 months. So if someone buys this, they can age it for another 2 or 3 years. It's really not going to get any better. But
Right.
you can keep a cigar for decades as long as you keep it under the right humidity. Basically, it's 70% humidity and 70 degrees.
So Bobby, that introduces a challenge. The more you age the cigars, the better they become, but that means that you have to hold inventory for a long time. How are you guys able to overcome that problem?
Cash, babe, cash. But I'm not being flippant, but to get into the cigar business, last year the Fuentes made and sold over 30 million handmades. That's a lot of tobacco. They've never told me this, but we've been their partners. I've never seen anything. They must have 50,000 bales of tobacco just aging in these. They have their own free zone in Santiago. It's unbelievable. We have a factory in Nicaragua. It was built to make 40,000 cigars a day. Today we make 100,000 cigars a day. How do we do that? Well, we had expansion after expansion. Fortunately, we bought a lot of property back in 2010 in Esteli, Nicaragua. Our last expansion was our largest, and that was 10,000 square feet. So we can start aging tobaccos in our own factory in Nicaragua. But you have all this cash tied. You have millions of dollars. It's like wine, or bourbon, or whiskey, scotch. It's just all this, and it's just sitting there doing nothing. The cigar industry does not have the same problem that the whiskey problem. You've heard of an angel share, where when you fill a cask, a wooden cask of bourbon, and after 8 years, a third of it's gone. It goes to the angels. In fact, so what I mean, we don't have the same problem because the tobacco doesn't just disappear like that. If you have a bundle of 100, if it weighs 150 pounds, a bale, by the time you're get ready to use it, it's still 150 pounds.
Right. Well, that's very interesting, Bobby. So we're about to get to our second commercial break here, but after that, we've got some really good questions for you. Thank you for tuning in to our viewers to the 161 Report. We're streaming to you live from Bamboo Strategic Media, and we've got a special message to you from our sponsor, Synapse, today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lauren Prager.
Hi, I'm Allie.
Hi, I'm Kylie.
Hi, I'm Monica Angel.
Hi, I'm Brian Kornfeld from Synapse, Florida, and I'm amped to announce the next evolution in supporting Florida's innovation communities.
We're living in a time of unprecedented challenges and opportunity, but crisis fuels innovation, and Florida's talent is stepping up to meet the moment.
Innovation requires collaboration, and Synapse exists to foster meaningful connections.
We're here to help you find what you need and share what you have.
What better way to foster this camaraderie than through a digital, statewide meeting of the minds?
A rally.
A convergence.
Synapse Converge is an interactive digital conference unlike any other you'll be invited to this year.
It's for innovators, created by innovators. This is not your typical Zoom meeting.
This is a time for hands-on learning, meaningful connections, intentional engagement, access to the experts you need in order to succeed through live chats and Q&A.
And for those of us still working at home with our colleagues,
Kids or dogs, If they pop in, you've got all the sessions and they'll be recorded and available to watch anytime during the conference.
So mark your calendar.
No, really. Click below to register.
June 9th, 10th, and 11th.
We'll see you there.
Welcome back to the 161 Report, streaming to you live from Bamboo Strategic Media. If you enjoyed that message from our sponsor, Synapse Florida, go on converge.synapsefl.com. They've got a great event happening June 9th through the 11th, and I'm proud to say that the 161 group is participating in that event, so definitely check it out. So we're here with Bobby. He was just telling us about some of the charitable things that he and his family and his company do. He also told us about some of the cigars that they've been doing and why the J.C. Newman Cigar Company manufactures the best cigars on the planet. So Bobby, you guys distribute to over 80 countries around the world.
Right.
Can you tell me a bit
81.
about 81 countries around the world? Can you tell me about what that process was like to be able to build those relationships, to be able to sell internationally?
Right. It's a long process. We started in 1994, Pablo, and what brought us, and it's funny, most people and most of your listeners probably have never been to Guam or Saipan. I didn't even know where it was. I just knew it was out in the Pacific. At a duty-free trade show in Orlando, we met people from Louis Vuitton, Moët Hennessy, who owned duty-free shoppers, DFS, and we were able to get our product into their network. They're in Asia, San Francisco, and New York, JFK, and they said, we will bring your product in, but you've got to come out at least once a year, and you have to do trainings with all of our sales personnel. So we ended up going to Guam and Hawaii, Guam, Saipan, Narita, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Singapore, Melbourne, Australia, Sydney, and Auckland. And that was our first toe in the water, and it was fascinating. And then we turned over to England. And so by going to these trade shows, you meet different people, these international trade shows. We were one of the first people to export our products. Not the Cubans have always been around the world. We were one of the first non-Cuban companies to export our products. So we took our Toro Fuente and at the time it was Cuesta with us. And there's still these international shows. There's one in Germany outside of Frankfurt. And it's like the United Nations. You'll maybe have 100 countries that people. It's a cigar and tobacco show. People are always looking for new partnerships, and it's been very, very rewarding. Again, it's been 26 years we've been doing this, and despite the challenges of tobacco. I'm not downplaying this, but your generation, my sons are 25 and 22. They don't smoke cigarettes. They love an occasional cigar when they play golf or they're playing poker or for celebration or for all the weddings. My God, my son's going to all these weddings now, and they all want cigars, which is nice. And because I tell you, when I was growing up, people they were not interested. The girls used to say, "Oh, cigars! We don't want that aroma, that smell, blah blah blah." And now it's we have hand cigar makers out of Tampa that have done a lot of wedding receptions in Tampa and around the area, which is interesting. Can I go back for a second too, Pablo?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just about my son Dawson. We told both our kids, if you want to come in the business, go work for somebody else for 2 years and then get a little more education. So our older son, Dawson, I believe he's watching tonight. He went to work for the local Budweiser distributor in Charlotte, North Carolina. He's going to Elon University, graduated. Then he went to work for some two large tobacconists, one in Charlotte and one in Tampa. And he's getting ready to go to get his master's degree at the University of Tampa, College of Entrepreneurship. And it's remind me of what you went through, Pablo, at the University of Florida with Marty. Just hands-on, fascinating. It wasn't when I went to college and my brother just read out of a textbook. the reason I'm telling you this is that talk about innovation. Is a couple of things to tell people who are watching. My father figured out a way in the early 60s. How do you sell cigars? Because there were very few smoke shops at the time. All the big users of cigars were the chains like Walgreens and Eckerd's and CVS. So my father figured out a way to put 3 cigars in a beautiful pack, gold foil pack, and put very special. It was like a foil package, but it was polypropylene. Seal it. The cigars would stay fresh if they sat there for a month or 6 months. They would be very fresh. We were the first ones to do that. Talk about innovation. Just like we were talking about 20 minutes ago about this, the first bundle cigar in America was using first cigars made as great cigars, La Unica Dominican Primeros. That has taken off. We're the first cigar company in America to put cigars in Ziploc bags. We have a brand called Trader Jack's that we sell. We're launching a new one called Havana Q with a wrapper. It's a Havana seed grown in, these are handmade cigars made in Esteli in our factory, but they're all going to be in these large, beautiful seal bags that you get. People, if you go to Publix or Winn-Dixie, you see them when you buy food, or if you buy dog treats, they're in these Ziploc, beautiful, thick bags. They'll keep the humidity in there until you open it up for 3 years. And we were the first ones to do that. So we are coming out with this new brand called Havana Q, and with the same type of packaging. So people love that because they know, gives them confidence that it'll be fresh product. There's nothing worse than buying a stale cigar is as bad, or a dry cigar is as bad as buying a gallon of milk. So anyway, I just want to get back to the innovation. So
absolutely. And you mentioned a good point there about your son and how he's studying entrepreneurship. I wanted to ask you about, how does your family go about preparing the next generation to take over and run the company? I know you mentioned that you want them to go work for another company for 2 years.
Right.
Are there some principles that Julius Caeser instilled that you guys still carry on today in the newer generation?
Absolutely. Grandpa JC and my father used to say, number one, you got to take care of your customers. Without customers, you have nothing. Number two, take care of your employees, because if you don't take good care of the people that work for you and with you, you won't have a business. Number three, and I've never heard anyone say this, you take care of your suppliers. Don't grind them down. They have to make a profit, and if you squeeze them and say, I need a dime off of this pound of tobacco, they'll find a way to get back at you. And so everyone gets taken care of. And also, both my grandfather and father were very, very strong, is that you've got to pay it. They didn't use the term, but you got to pay it forward. Share. It comes from the Bible. Who much is given, much is expected. Even if it's not about money. It's just whatever you have, share it. And that's why this Cigar Family Charitable Foundation with a school down there has been, I believe, so successful. It's touched thousands of lives. We started a program in 2006 with Southeastern Guide Dogs, which is down outside of Sarasota. We started a program on the board there, and one of the first American servicemen to lose both eyes in the global war on terror, his name was Michael Jernigan. He was a private in 2004. He was riding in a Humvee and in the machine gun nest, and they rolled over a tremendous IED. It was 255 millimeter shells tied together, and it killed the driver and blew him out and took his whole forehead off. If this had been Vietnam, he would have been dead, of course. But they saved him, but took all his eyes out, and he was our first recipient. Anyway, let me back up. He was from St. Petersburg. I did not know him. I got a call from the smoke shop where he would frequent, and they tell me about this young man. I said, well, sorry to hear about it. The next week, he appeared on the front page of the St. Pete Times, and we took him down to get a guide dog. And he and I started this program called Paws for Patriots. And today we've given hundreds of dogs. In fact, Jeannie, look out. That's one of them, by the way.
Wow.
She's retired. She's a lab, a white lab. But anyway, so we have dogs spread out in VA hospitals, and there's no charge. Marcus Luttrell from the band. Let's see, Marcus Luttrell. He'd kill me if I knew that. Marcus Luttrell was the lone survivor from the book and the movie. He was one of our first famous recipient. If you saw the movie American Sniper, Chris Kyle's widow also has one of her dogs. We have about a 6-month waiting list. Hundreds of thousands of men and women have come back from the global war on terror with this thing. In World War II, they call it shell shocked. Today, they call it post-traumatic stress. And we don't call these PTSD dogs, we call them veteran service dogs. And it's been very, very, very rewarding to see the changes. These dogs don't only change lives, but they save lives. And sadly, America's losing 22 veterans every day to suicide. And we're so proud that at Southeastern Guide Dogs, we've never lost one soldier, male or female, to suicide who has these dogs. So it's
that's incredible, Bobby.
A difference maker.
Yeah, that's incredible to hear that story and how you guys are really making an impact, not just internationally, but even for our own veterans here. So we're going to go into our third break here, and then we'll get some other questions lined up for you, Bobby. So this is the 161 Report. Thank you for tuning in. We're streaming to you from Bamboo Strategic Media.
Appreciate the call out.
Welcome back to the 161 Report. I'm Pablo, and we are here at Bamboo Strategic Media. That was a special message for you from one of our sponsors, OP Software, and they are currently hiring, actually. So if you're looking for a position, definitely check out their website, opsoftware.com. So we're here with Bobby. He's told us some great things about innovation, about how they prepare the next generation of the family to run the business. And one of the things that I was personally really wondering about, Bobby, is, you're talking about all this innovation and you guys are always trying to push the envelope on these cigars. I know you guys currently have some interesting renovations happening with the factory in Tampa. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely.
And the new cigar?
My brother and I are, as they say, kind of in the fourth quarter. We're in triple overtime. So the fourth generation had an idea. Let's open the factory. Let's renovate the factory. It wasn't our choice or my brother's or our idea or choice. Let's renovate the factory. And we have such a great story to tell. People come. Tampa is we're 70 miles from the front gates of Disney World and Universal Studios. People are pouring into this area, and Tampa is still known as the cigar city, cigar capital of the world. So Eric's son Drew said, let's renovate the factory to what it looked like in 1910. At the time, it was the largest cigar factory in the world. Let's start making cigars by hand in our factory. And the first brand out of that, I don't know if you can see that, it was called the first brand came out of this 1910 factory where we are today, that we've owned since 1954, was the American. And typical millennial, and he said, and I didn't outside what I've read, the millennials, they don't care about the big cars and the big White House on the hill. They want to eat. They want to eat well. They want to buy local. They want to buy things locally made, whether it's food or clothes if they can, or boots or axes or whatever. So Drew Newman, Eric, my brother's idea that let's come out with a cigar, start making them in Tampa. The tobaccos are 100% grown in the United States. The cigar band, the boxes, the labels, the nail that goes into the wooden box, everything, the ink, everything is made in America. And my brother, I thought he was out of his mind, but fourth generation, want to be innovative and creative. So this cigar here, it's called the American. We make 200 a day, and they're in boxes of 20. So that's 10 boxes a day. We have 2-hand cigar makers. We're going to add more. The wrapper is grown 20 miles north of Walt Disney World in Claremont, Florida, by Jeff Borshowitz, a friend of ours who owns Corona Cigar. Three beautiful cigar shops in Orlando and one in Tampa. The binder, so if you the binder is the tobacco underneath the wrapper. It's Connecticut broadleaf, and the filler is grown by the Mennonites. Everyone's heard of the Mennonites and the Amish, and you think, well, how can they do that? They don't have electricity. They still use horses to plow their fields, or oxen. When you drive around there at night, all their farmhouses are dark because it's all lit by candlelight. But the Mennonites, it's okay in their faith to grow tobacco, and they grow wonderful tobacco in Pennsylvania. So we found a box maker in the United States, and Action Label out of Orlando is doing all the cigar bands for it. So we've had a lot of fun with this. It's made enormous noise too. We've got about 40 smoke shops in America that sell it right now. Wow. And we have to sell it. It's under allocation. We've tried to ship about every 2 months, because we have to age the tobacco. Then we have to age the cigars. Next time you come back to Tampa, we invite all your viewers, your listeners, to come see us in Tampa, because we're opening the front part of the factory to the public. The third floor, we're building a hand cigar making factory, and we expect to have 12 hand cigar makers with a lector stand. Lector in Spanish means reader, and so what they would do, we have these pictures around the turn of the century. The reader would, because making cigars can be tedious. This is before radio, before electricity. Because the Ybor City was founded by Martinez Ybor in 1886. That's when the first factory was built. Our factory was one of the last factories built. They all had lectors, readers. You see these pictures of row after row of these hand cigar makers, all male. They all had either a tie, a necktie, or a bow tie, and many of them wore hats. Each of them would pay a penny or two per week to the lector, and he would read the newspaper. He would read novels, and it's part of the old romance of Tampa. We're going to have cigar rolling seminars. We'll let people choose your own blend, do a mild, medium, or heavy. Going to do tasting. We're opening the factory to people for a wedding venues. We've had a couple of weddings in our factory for people that work with us and work in our company. So we're really excited about this. Again, we want to turn this into the Bourbon Trail, and we want to share this experience. We get so many calls all the time. People want to see the factory, so we're taking it up a notch. We had a cigar museum that my brother set up. It started in 1875 when Grandpa JC was born. And people often ask me, "How do you remember your grandfather?" And mathematically, the grandfather got married at 30. My father got married at over 30. I got married at 40. So we keep skipping generations. So that's why I remember my grandfather so well. And imagine that Grandpa JC was born 10 years after the end of the American Civil War. And
Wow.
So anyway, but going back to the factory, we're really excited about this. The museum, we hope to be finished by next month, and this will be the second part of the renovation. First part was done last year when we moved our shipping department to where our bonded warehouse. We were out of space in our shipping department, so we moved in an area that's almost 3 times as large. We could be more efficient as well. And we also wanted to be ADA compliant, which means American Disabilities Act. So we now have 2 wheelchair ramps. When we had visitors before, we had to go outside and literally pick up the wheelchair. It takes 2 people. It would take 2 people. All our bathrooms will be ADA compliant, which is very important as well.
Right.
So
that is amazing, Bobby, to see that you guys are still innovating today, and it's been a tradition for you guys. So we're nearing the end of the episode here, and I've got some just rapid fire questions for you before we wrap up. So the first one is, a lot of people around the world, a lot of highly successful people, a lot of very accomplished people love cigars, and a lot of people just love cigars in general. And so who are some of the most interesting people that you've had the opportunity to interact and connect with because of cigars?
Two people come to mind. We launched Diamond Crown at the Grand Havana Room, and this is a picture of Grandpa JC, what he looked like in May of 1895. His name was Julius Caeser Newman, by the way. We launched Diamond Crown 1995, 96, Grand Havana Room in Beverly Hills, California. We met Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Arnold Schwarzenegger is like your next door neighbor, the most down-to-earth guy, very famous. He was on the cover of Cigar Aficionado, and when he talks to you, he listens. It's like one of us. And I said, Mr. Schwarzenegger, it's such an honor to meet you. And with that great Austrian accent, he said, do not call me Mr. Schwartz. My name is Arnold. I'm not. Anyway, my wife thinks it's funny. But I said, what's your favorite cigar? And he said, the cigar that I'm given. I'll never forget that. We met Tom Selleck also. And what's happened since then, and since the Cigar Aficionado brought this whole industry out of the closet, all the Hollywood people, that's probably not a good term to use today, but there's more and more people are enjoying cigars. We go to Washington often, and the people used to say, and Pablo, I'm sure your mother would tell you, people would say, let's go out and have a drink after work. Now they say, let's go out and have a cigar. And I saw that in Washington, all the trips I've made up there. And so cigars are really an in vogue thing. You go to a smoke shop. I know we only have a minute or 2 left. You go into a smoke shop and you'll see a lot of women too, all 21 and older.
Right. So we've got one more question for you here before we wrap up. Bobby, what is your why? Why do you do what you do, and what drives the way that you think and the things that you do in your business?
Everyone was born with strengths and weaknesses. I love telling stories. I love meeting people. Always have. I was born that way. I love telling jokes. In the morning, I can't wait till I get up in the morning so I can get back in the cigar business. I love it. Cigars is all about, you put 2 people together. It doesn't matter black, white, purple. It doesn't matter what religion, whatever. You have instant camaraderie, instant friendship. You go in these smoke shops, it's like cheers. And I love what the industry represents. It represents relaxation. Represents people getting together, enjoying each other's company.
Absolutely. Is there anything else you want to leave our viewers with? Maybe where they can learn more about your company and your cigars?
Absolutely. Please visit us on our website, jcnewman.com, and there's videos, YouTubes, everything. And remember this, I just tell everyone that if you follow your passion, Pablo, this is your great example. I met you with Marty Schaffel at the University of Florida. You follow your passion and you make a living at it. You'll never work a day at it. You'll never work a day in your life. So thank you for having me on, Pablo.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. This is the 161 Report, and thank you for tuning in.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you to our viewers for listening and for tuning in. That was a great episode with Bobby Newman, the third-generation owner of the J.C. Newman Cigar Company, founded in 1895, and they just celebrated this month their 125th anniversary. So it was amazing to have him on. I hope that you guys enjoyed that, and we'll be back next week. Thank you for tuning in.